Okay. Is it okay to let everybody in now, Paul? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Paul Zotov. Paul, I think you're on mute. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon, all. I'd like to welcome you to this meeting of the Boston Art Commission. My name is Alexandra Paul Zotov, and I'm the Public Art Registrar in the Mayor's Office of Art and Culture. In that capacity, I also administer the Boston Art Commission. Let's just take a moment to update our names and pronouns, as well as make sure that we're all muted. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting virtually. As a reminder, this is extended until 2025. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission, the public can join this meeting through the telephone and through video conferencing. For those of you with us today, this meeting is being recorded and closed captioning is available. You can access it at the bottom of the screen. If you're having trouble accessing this button, please chat us for assistance. And now I'm just going to pass this off to Karen.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and the Boston Art Commission believe that public art is any artwork installed in publicly accessible spaces where they can be experienced by everyone for free. For transparency and community input, artworks proposed for City of Boston property are reviewed and discussed at public meetings of the Boston Art Commission on a regular, usually monthly basis. Working together with the public art team in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, the Boston Art Commission, the BAC, is an independent board composed of 2 ex officio and 7 volunteer community members appointed by the mayor. The BAC has exclusive authority to approve and commission artworks intended to be added to the city's collection or placed on city property. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture has a dedicated public art team that facilitates the Boston Art Commission public meetings and manages all phases, daily operations, and duties related to public art projects cited on or proposed for City of Boston property in collaboration with the Boston Art Commission, community members, and colleagues at the City of Boston. Helping to facilitate this meeting are Amber Torres, Public Art Project Manager, and Alexandra Paul Zotov, Public Art Registrar. Senior Public Art Project Manager Sarah Rodrigo has left the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture for a new position within the Treasury Department as a Trust Program Manager. We are very grateful for her years of service and wish her the best in this new endeavor. And we do miss her and miss seeing her face up on this slide. And we'll add our contact information into the chat. Thank you, Amber. And I will pass to John and Camilo.
Thanks, Karen, and welcome everyone. I'm calling this public hearing to order at 4:35 p.m. Today, the Commission is holding its monthly public meeting. Our meetings are generally held on the second Tuesday of every month, and we hope you'll continue to join us. We engage in discussions about public art in Boston in order to foster the creation and collection of artworks that reflect the people, ideas, histories, and futures of Boston, which is located on the traditional homeland of the Massachusetts people and the neighboring Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge the atrocities committed against Indigenous peoples, all of the communities that have been subsequently harmed, and the ways in which colonialism has created systemic oppression. We recognize the continuing presence of these communities and the Indigenous peoples represented in the city's residents, in addition to those in the diaspora. We also recognize that Boston exists as a result of the forced labor and economic extraction from enslaved African Americans. I'll now take roll call of the commissioners to confirm a quorum. After I state your name, commissioners, please say here. I'll begin with Vice Chair Camilo Alvarez.
Here.
Kara Elliott Ortega.
Here.
Robert Freeman,
Here.
Diana Fernandez-Dubois,
Here.
Brian Hone,
Here.
Nigel Jacob,
Here.
James Mason,
Here.
Abigail Norman.
Here.
Before we begin, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our newest commissioners, Nigel Jacob, James Mason, and Abigail Norman. So glad you're here, and thank you so much for joining us here on the commission. With our new commissioners introduced, I'd also like to share a warm thanks to our previous chair and vice chair, Mark Pasnick and Ekwa Holmes, for their dedication to public art. It was a pleasure to serve with them. I wish them the best, and I hope we'll see them at subsequent meetings. On this slide, you'll see today's agenda, which is also publicly posted on the city's website, boston.gov. We'll now review meeting minutes from the October meeting. Are there any comments or modifications any commissioner would like to make? Hearing none, I wonder if a commissioner could make a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the October 10th meeting 2023.
Thanks, Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Great, thanks, Camilo. Excuse me. I'll now take roll call. And if you agree to approve the minutes, please say yes. Camilo,
Yes.
Cara,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
James,
I would say yes.
and Abigail.
Yes.
Great. The minutes are approved. Thank you so much. I'll now pass it to Karen Goodfellow, who will highlight the presentation for public review and give her director's report next.
Thank you, John. We have just one presentation for review tonight, Echoes, A Voice from Uncharted Waters, a short-term sculptural installation in the final design phase at the steps at Franklin and Washington Streets by artist Mathias Gmachl. I apologize on the pronunciation there of first and last, possibly, proposed by the Downtown BID, Boston Business Improvement District. For updates about existing commissions, Public Art Project Manager Sarah Rodrigo and Amber Torres met with Aziza Robinson Goodnight, Chairperson for the Frederick Douglass Sculpture Committee, Public Works, the Public Improvement Commission, and design consultants from BRR and Sasaki last month to finalize the design of the Douglass Peace Plaza. They're drafting a limited maintenance and indemnification agreement, preparing for PIC review of the plaza, and drafting a construction bid for installation that will be released early next year. Amber Torres, project manager for Vine Street, is still in the process of working with Art and Visuals to create a final rendering for the artist Destiny Palmer to use to create a file for printing, and installation is anticipated sometime before summer 2024. Continuing with commissioning projects, the final design for Amulite by Ria Vedro was passed in October's BAC meeting, and I'm receiving many emails and requests from the artist team about how to move forward with PFD. We are working very closely with them. This project is going to be eventually a rotating temporary art site. So we are working with PFD and using capital funds to construct the pad where artworks will be installed. So while Ria and her team are working with us on this one and really helping to think it through, it will be the site of future projects in the future, which we're really excited about. For Coconut Grove, we're continuing to work with our colleagues to finalize the grant agreement process and work with parks to ensure site readiness. And for Bookmarked by Shu Schechter at the Mattapan branch of the Boston Public Library, we're following up with a request from the BAC Final Design Review to confirm details on the spines. One of the quotations is still being reviewed by the library. We also have been informed that the fabricator we contracted with has been delayed, and we are working with the library to look for solutions. Jenny Sabin's preliminary designs for Ruggles Corridor will be presented in an upcoming meeting. And we are in the process, Amber's in the process as project manager of working with partners on that project to make sure that we are getting good input from others before we come to the public meeting here. Priscilla de Carvalho is still in the preliminary design phase of her project for the Adams Branch Library in Dorchester, and we are continuing to talk to the library about possible sites there as we work with her on her project. It's another project of Amber's. And we're anticipating releasing several calls for artists in the spring of 2024, including Transformative Public Art. Or hoping to doing that one actually before the end of the year. And our call for walls in the Boston Public School System through the Percent for Art call was closed last week. This was a call out to Boston Public Schools who were able to offer up walls in schools where there are capital projects happening. And this is the inaugural program year for this, and we received 16 applications from schools. And we're really excited to bring a lot of murals. Liza Quinones, our mural consultant, is leading us in that work. And continuing with commissioning projects, we have a number of commissions in contracting, including grant agreements for several community or artist-initiated projects. And many thanks for our new Director of Administration and Finance, Sam Fidler, for his help in navigating these processes and really helping us, because that's the part that we don't see in these public meetings that is so crucial for us to be able to move these projects forward. And it is an art in itself. And moving on to existing collections, the House Doctor RFP has been released. The new contract will be for a 3-year term and will include routine conservation, major repair projects, emergency repairs or removals, assessments, and including assessments of new artworks that the commission will be reviewing for acceptance. And so this is someone who will be on hand for us to do conservation of our collection and review new projects, as I just mentioned. As you can see in the images on your screen, conservation for the 16 by 30 foot painting Webster's Reply to Hayne by George P.A. Healy will begin in the winter of 2024. The considerable damage to the canvas in the upper left and right corners calls for emergency conservation, which will be led by Gianfranco Pocobene, Chief Paintings and Research Conservator at the Gardner Museum. And he is a conservator that we've worked with before on paintings in Faneuil Hall. And with that, I will pass back to John.
Thanks, Karen. We'll now move on to our agenda item for review today. Public testimony and commission vote will follow. Here is how you can participate in today's meeting. If you have technical difficulties, you can ask questions in the chat and a member of staff will help you. When public testimony is requested, you can press the raise your hand icon and we will call on you. If you are calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. And now I'll pass it to Camilo for further instructions.
Our goal is to make this meeting a good experience for all so that community members feel comfortable sharing their feedback and questions. When you are called on, please state your name, title, program, and organization. Please keep questions and comments project specific. Be mindful and respectful of other people's time when speaking so that other participants feel comfortable adding their comments. You can submit longer written testimony to bac@boston.gov. All written testimony will be added to commissioner folders in advance of monthly public meetings. While you may disagree with other attendees' testimony, you may not interrupt them during their allotted time. Thank you all.
Our presentation for review today is Echoes, A Voice from Uncharted Waters by Mathias Gmachl for the steps at Franklin and Washington Streets in downtown, proposed by the Downtown Boston Business Improvement District. Amber Torres will introduce the project.
Thank you. When the downtown bid reached out to the public art team, we were happy to direct them to the public art and design application and connect them with the other departments like the Public Improvement Commission and Public Works so that they were aware of the project and could begin their own review process. And now I'll pass it over to the bid to begin their presentation.
Thank you, Amber, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time and consideration. My name is Michael Nichols. I'm the president of the Downtown Boston Business Improvement District. I'm joined by Kelsey Pramick, our director of special projects. We represent two of the village of folks who have been partnered up working to make this project a potential reality for downtown Boston on both sides of the American-Canadian border. And so I'm pleased to join you this evening to present the details around Echoes, A Voice from Uncharted Waters. Next slide. So I know many are at some level familiar with our group, but we did want to share a bit of information about the Downtown Bid. We are a 12-year-old nonprofit that focuses on making downtown cleaner, safer, and more vibrant. We've activated the downtown in a number of ways over our history, mostly through musical performances and public activations, though over time we have featured various public art projects and pop-up play displays, both of the type that we are pursuing this winter. But I think we certainly hope to begin offering significantly more public art on the streets of downtown in partnership with you all and our private property owners. So we are calling the overall exhibition Winteractive, and it is meant to transport those of us living in the Boston area into a Canadian winter mindset. It is, I think, my view and ours that Bostonians, despite our status as a cold weather city, do not adapt to that condition, perhaps as well as some of our other North American cold weather city peers. And there's been a relative lack of public programming, not a total absence, but a relative lack throughout Boston over time in the winter months. We are hoping to do our fair share of programming in those months to begin to encourage people to become more active with a combination this winter of an art and play experience, a linear experience where we would encourage visitors to explore the downtown, the streets, sidewalks, plazas, and building faces of downtown with a number of different art exhibits or play features that would be connected in a linear walking experience, so people are pursuing the pieces by exploring throughout the downtown. Next slide. And so just one more piece. So, you know, our Canadians up north certainly know how to adapt to the inclement weather with a mix of music, light, art, play. And so again, you know, sort of our marketing hook for this experience is trying to transport our folks into a similar mindset. So our goals for this experience, I think transparently, you know, we are hoping to create a destination experience to draw, you know, regional travel to the area. So whether you live in Boston proper or the greater Boston region, it's quite easy to make a day trip to Boston to consume, I think, really terrific exhibition. But then also hopefully from those who live even farther away and are helping to fill hotel beds. Many of you may know, but Boston runs at nearly a 95% occupancy in our hotel beds 9 months of the year, and that drops to something like 60 or 65% in these winter months of January, February, and March. So we hope to create more in-demand reason to visit Boston, more reason to support our shops and restaurants and historic sites throughout the downtown, provide our own residents a winter wellness opportunity, a linear walking experience to explore the downtown, to deepen relationships from a tourism and cultural standpoint with our peers in Quebec province of Canada, debut a new way for Bostonians to experience winter, and provide a marquee offering for downtown to be explored, particularly as First Night, for the first time in many years, moves from its longtime home in Copley Square to downtown and to City Hall Plaza. And so while much of this experience will be planned for the January timeframe, this first signature piece that you're hearing about tonight is today the only piece planned to be on public land, and we had an opportunity to receive it ahead of New Year's Eve in order to be supportive of the city's work to support First Night, and so we'd be delighted to be able to do that. So the signature exhibit here is a photo of Echo's A Voice From Uncharted Waters, and I'm happy to talk about it a little more on the following slides. And so it is a large format sculptural piece by a British artist, Mathias Gmachl, in partnership with QDSI of Canada, the Museums Quartier Wien of Vienna, Austria, and the Lugano Art and Cultural Center in Switzerland. And so these are the partners that have come together to make this exhibit a reality. The Downtown Boston Partnership is a 501c3 that works in partnership with our organization, the Downtown Boston Bid. We've been quite grateful for the interaction and cooperation of a number of city partners. The TDMD Fund of the Meet Boston organization, close partners of ours, and then Millennium Partners, who is responsible for the upkeep of the Steps location where this exhibit will be placed. So Echoes itself is a stunningly beautiful 11,000 pound, 60-foot long steel sculpture that has wonderful interactive components, sound and light that react to human movement and human proximity to the piece. So in the evening, the piece will be lit with I think a relatively muted lighting scheme that we don't believe would cause much in the way of significant impact on surrounding residential and office buildings. Same with the low volume sound elements that are meant to I think mimic or respond to a more natural environment. We believe they to also be at low tones and unlikely to cause an impact to surrounding properties, though that will all be sort of tested and fine-tuned in the final installation process. The sculpture is planned to be located at the steps at Franklin Street and Washington Street, as Karen noted earlier. This is in Shoppers Plaza in downtown, so it is one of our most frequently programmed areas of the downtown through the work of the Downtown Boston Bid and our partners. And so it's perhaps best associated with the steps where people sit on top of one of the head houses of the downtown crossing public transportation system. And so you see a bit of a zoomed out view here, but actually on the next slide is a little bit more of a site-specific rendering of the sort of orientation of the sculpture relative to the steps into Washington Street and Franklin. Both of these areas, or I should say both of these streets, are contained within the downtown Boston pedestrian zone. And so for most hours of the day, 7 days of the week, this is a pedestrian zone with reduced or zero car traffic. The installation in particular, as we'll talk about in a moment, is expected to be performed on a Saturday and Sunday when car traffic and delivery traffic is at its smallest in the downtown area. But you know, we have programmed this area and downtown Boston more broadly with roughly 1,000 events a year for the past 12 years, and so we know how to take care of and to ensure the continued safety of tourists, visitors, pedestrians, bikers, and anybody that might spend time downtown. And there's a very well-considered installation process associated with this location. What we also really love about this particular spot is that there is a performance stage that was created through the renovation of this area through the Millennium Tower project many years ago. And so Echoes will actually sit on an elevated stage that has been created for art, culture, musical performance, and basically connecting audiences with a 360-degree experience of viewership of something occurring on this stage location. So we are proposing to install the piece as early as this weekend, subject to approval from the Public Art Commission. This is, we understand, to be our last government review after the staff and the leadership of the Public Art Commission and the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture connected us with other government agencies, and we've undergone their review. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But as early as this weekend would be the initial installation period. We expect it to be a 2-day installation. And so as early as this, hopefully upcoming Monday, the piece would sort of be fully viewable in the public realm and available 24 hours a day through Sunday of Boston Marathon weekend. A really, I think for us, an enjoyable signature endpoint for the piece when an international audience descends on Boston. And while the energy of the city is certainly outside of the downtown that day and closer to the Back Bay and in other locations, we think it still would be a really nice amenity to offer the public who happens to be in Boston that weekend. And so, I shared earlier sort of why we are seeking to offer the Winteractive experience for the public and for our visitors, but Echoes specifically was chosen, certainly for its beauty, for the interactive nature and playful nature of the piece, and for the meaning behind it. The fact that Boston occupies an important status as a coastal city, that we're increasingly focused on biodiversity, on climate messages, on the mayor's work to create not just a Green New Deal for our city and our region, but a much broader awareness of sustainability and resiliency, planning elements of our public-private shared environment. We believe those are all important messages that have an opportunity to be conveyed through just the stunning beauty and scale of this particular sculpture. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this piece was not conceived of or commissioned directly for Boston. It is a piece that has been, previously exhibited in a number of cities, throughout the world. And so while not a new commission, it has never been seen in Boston or the Boston region. And so we believe it's a really important opportunity to connect the audiences of our city with the meaning behind, the artist Mathias's work here. So the piece, as I mentioned earlier, would be free and open to the public 24 hours a day. We have worked with the artist on the technical requirements. We are very familiar and able to maintain the piece at the specifications offered by the artist team. I should also offer the Downtown Boston bid employs as a partner Block by Block, who themselves represent 45 street-based ambassadors for our organization, who work shifts that reflect a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week, and 365-day-a-year presence in the downtown. So between our core staff and our partner staff, we have eyes and ears on this neighborhood 24 hours a day. And so, we expect to be able to, to continue maintaining the piece, to remove snow, to ensure the public's easy access and accessibility to enjoying the piece. And to ensuring that that experiences a healthy life in Boston over the 4 months that it would be present in our city. We expect to be able to continue to maintain the area and ensure that it's a habitable home for the piece and a suitable one. And in the event that there is something that goes wrong, we have anticipated this with the artist and the curator partner, QDSI, from their experience in exhibiting the piece in other places throughout the world. And so we know to expect, or how to expect or how to handle, both sort of minor issues that may arise over the course of the run and the more significant issues in partnership with that partner. The bid has worked closely over time with the Boston Police Department on a security camera project for the downtown. And so there is a BPD owned bid supported camera that is located directly in this area, which meets one of the priorities of the artist team and the curatorial partner to understanding that the piece will be, if not outright safeguarded, then certainly there's an awareness of what might occur in the event that there's sort of a major occurrence. But we don't expect that for Boston. While it is the public realm, we believe that this is the type of piece that people will really enjoy and respect over the course of the time it's in Boston. So this is just a slide. I know it's a lot of words on a slide. I apologize, but this is the various government review and process that we've undergone in partnership with, again, the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and a number of other entities reflected here. So as we understand, this is our final review. A building permit was issued for the construction through ISD. We've been pleased to have ongoing dialogue with Public Works, BTD, the Disabilities Commission, and others, the Public Improvement Commission, who have signed off and reviewed these plans and are comfortable with the considerations we put into place. I think this was made all easier by the bid's long time and ongoing close partnership with the city on a number of these considerations. We are the entity that typically manages street closures and temporary construction projects and movie shoots and a number of the other streets-based activations that occur in the downtown area throughout the year. And so while this certainly took a unique lens to understand the impact of a public art project of this scale, and we thank the government partners who helped us through that process, we are, I think, adept and own infrastructure and a capability and a know-how as an organization to ensure that the public will be safeguarded through this installation, exhibit, and de-installation process. So just a couple of the technical images, and I'm happy to get more granular on this if folks are interested, but we've worked with the Disabilities Commission to ensure that to the degree that the sculpture has to leave the elevated stage area, which itself would be sort of closed to the public, and there'd be language associated with the fact that we don't invite the public up onto the stage, and that actually the light and sound associated with the piece would also communicate that there is a proximity that the sculpture is happier with, that doesn't involve sort of directly immediate human interaction with the piece, but that to the degree that the sculpture moves off the elevated stage at the steps, it does abide by all of the Disability Commission's requirements and Public Improvement Commission's requirements for clearance for human engagement in the surrounding area. And so we expect that that really it fits just so perfectly with the positioning that we imagine will maximize the viewability for the public. And just a couple of other pieces. As a non-engineer, I know we have a broader team on, as I mentioned, in both the United States locally and in Canada with the curatorial group that have dived deep into these plans. But the piece does arrive in multiple pieces in large format vehicles that would arrive in Boston the night before and be staged and transported to the site probably as early as 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. The first day would be essentially bolting the number of individual pieces into place, securing them, and then the fine tuning of the lighting and the sound would occur over the course of the second day of installation. Finally, this is the de-install plan and a map specifically for where the individual pieces would be located. We are, in addition to the curatorial partners, working with local partners of the bid, Interstate Rental Service and others to access the needed equipment and earlier the needed permits and permissions associated with the installation and de-installation plan. We haven't finalized the specific dates associated with the de-installation, out of respect for the public safety and public official involvement in the Boston Marathon. So we want to have a conversation about what days work best for city officials. We are prepared to do removal on the Tuesday and Wednesday following the marathon. But if the energy and attention of the city means that the downtown's a bit quieter on Marathon Monday itself, we could look to load out as early as that date, but we will work with our existing government partners on the optimal de-installation timeline. Just a couple of final, notes. As I mentioned earlier, this is the only component of the Winteractive exhibition that is planned to be located on city property. Most of the public art that the bid typically exhibits is on private property, and so most of the other pieces are planned for building facades, building faces, plazas or lobby spaces just adjacent to or outside of most of our private property owners' facilities in downtown. And so that, if that status were to change, then we would certainly have a dialogue with the PAC as soon as possible. But currently, Echoes is the only piece planned for public property. And just finally, as we have pursued this sort of one-time curatorial partnership with these partners from Quebec province, we are certainly sensitive to and want to communicate our continuing commitment to local artists. We don't have to go through sort of each of these specific examples, but I did want the Public Art Commission to know that we relish the status that we've had over time as an organization that funds new and creative work from local Boston-based artists, and that will not change as we begin to try and feature more frequently public art on the streets of the downtown area. And so both on this slide and then now, Paul, the next slide, there are just sort of a handful of examples dating back, 10 and 12 years of varying different, mural and performing arts and illumination, projects that we've pursued in the downtown. And we very much expect to continue that commitment to local artists going forward. And specifically, that will lead us to replacing this mural, as we will have a Quebec-based artist offering a new commission for the what we affectionately call the Macy's mural in downtown, that is on the side of that building in the downtown. So it has for some time now been this tourist friendly and placemaking mural image from local designer Joanne Kaliansis. And we expect to replace this piece for a short-term period during the Winteractive, and then again following Winteractive with a piece that could have a longer life that we expect to commission a local artist for the replacement and the longer-term commission of this piece. And then finally, again, we are excited about this on behalf of the Downtown Bid and the Downtown Boston Partnership. We really hope to move the needle in downtown and in our city this winter by bringing a number of really exciting pieces to our streets, and in particular Echoes as a large format contribution to the public art conversation downtown. we're grateful for the support of the mayor's arts and culture folks, Cara and Karen, and just thanking and Paul, and we appreciate all the support and conversation and advice that we've gotten through this process. And I'm happy to take any questions there may be.
Thanks so much, Michael. That presentation was very thorough, much appreciated. I'll now open it up to commissioners. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make for Michael. If I could, I'd like to start and just ask one question. Given that this will be up during first night, and given the material that it's made of, I know you said the platform and the sound and lighting would sort of inhibit potential interaction from the public with the piece, but if someone were to get on that platform and perhaps start to climb the sculpture, I'm assuming that the camera that you have and also the representatives that you have throughout the neighborhood would help prevent that and bring those people down who might be climbing.
Yeah, Chairman, it's a great question. A couple different answers. One, we do know from the artist team that that the piece has been engineered were people to hang on it, or sometimes people do what you don't want them to do, and they're aware of that, and it's been engineered to be able to handle that, so it's at no risk to the sculpture or to any sort of human life or human involvement. And so we're confident in those plans. They've been reviewed in a number of places. Separately, I think you raise an excellent point that we've been talking about. I think it's likely that since it would be newly up and on a night when there could be more people in the downtown area than is typical, that we could pursue a private security situation for just that evening, just to ensure that on a night where it may receive greater viewership, that in addition to our own ambassadors that are throughout the downtown in the evening hours, that we ensure that the piece is supported on that sort of specific night. I don't imagine over the course of a 4-month run that would be something we'd have to do often, but it might be the case that for New Year's Eve, it might be worth doing that. And so that's a commitment that the bid could make.
That makes sense to me. Any other commissioners with questions or comments?
Michael, I'm wondering if there's any other additional programming for the duration of the exhibition. I think it's a good opportunity for maybe, people love to hear from the maker, how things are made, where things have been, considering the sculpture has been shown around. I think stories from where it was shown would be a good thing. Maybe the curatorial team that's part of it. It's a good opportunity to maybe collaborate. I know there's amazing scientists over at the Boston Aquarium that know the life of a whale. Not only does it go up north, but they go down to the Caribbean and have babies and then come back up. I think engaging all the communities along that route, to kind of connect everybody would be a good opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really thoughtful suggestion, Vice Chair Alvarez. We've given a little bit of thought to that. Actually, I should have probably mentioned it. It's one of Kelsey's more favorite things that she researched as a part of this, is that the whale migration patterns of a whale like this does actually connect it between Canada and Boston and create another specific link between our two communities. And so we've begun to give thoughts to planning. We're certainly trying to make sure that we have our skis underneath us for the outright commissions of not just this piece, but the final sighting and installation of the other pieces that would follow in January. I think we're focused on that mid-January date rather than this earlier December date to try and get public awareness around the sculpture. And so I do expect in the new year that there would be both a kickoff event where we would welcome the artists to Boston to meet our community. And then I think we are an ongoing programming organization as it is. And I think we are certainly looking to design the kind of thoughtful programming. I think your specific idea is one we should consider very, very seriously coming out of tonight's conversation. But I think we are considering different methods of programming over the course of the several months that the pieces will be there. Thank you.
Michael, this is Bob Freeman. I just wanted to thank you for a really thorough presentation. You used the word, you used the word beautiful and playful, and I think that it is indeed that. The playful part is going to be enjoyed, I think, by children and adults, and the beautiful part is going to be enjoyed by everybody. As a person who enjoys the ocean, I might be the first to come down to see this. My question is, though, that you said that there was this interactiveness between the sculpture and the onlookers. And can you describe just briefly what that might be and where that might be, the voices might be located?
Yeah, so there, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Freeman. So the piece itself and the base on which the whale sculpture sits has a capability for emitting sound. I don't believe it'll be voices. I believe it'll be tonal. And so where there is, there can be a rise in the volume or a reduction in the volume of the tone based on human proximity to the piece. I think even at its loudest, it evokes naturalistic sounds and is meant to, I think, encourage a visitor to understand both proximity to the piece, but to reflect on the fragility of nature is the artist's intention. And so, in the calibration process during the installation period, I think we're going to be trying to strike that appropriate balance between something that furthers the artist, creative vision while certainly being operationalized in a way that doesn't have a negative impact on the surrounding community. The lighting, as you can see in the image here, is sort of throughout the piece itself. And so that will react similarly based on, again, sort of proximity to the piece. And so that's the ways in which it's interactive is mainly based on proximity and then a sort of spectrum of reaction that the piece can make to a visitor visiting. And both to your comment about being a fan of the ocean and Commissioner Alvarez, I forgot to mention that we have reached out to the New England Aquarium for a broader partnership as well. So they are aware. I actually believe they had hoped to commission this piece at one point in the past, but whether it was the pandemic that we all suffered through or otherwise had not yet had an opportunity. So we are very welcoming of a partnership with them and certainly hope to continue that dialogue in the weeks ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Any other commissioners with questions or comments?
I just had a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
Brian, you go ahead.
Just a question about signage. And maybe you mentioned this, but just the question of how would somebody kind of know what they're looking at? Obviously it's a large, beautiful kind of whale sculpture, but in addition to that, maybe opportunities to kind of learn more about the artist, the project itself. I'm always kind of curious about that aspect of interpretation.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. So the curatorial partner and the artist have a standard element of signage that they do offer to partners like us each time the piece is exhibited. And so that will be on site as early as the installation process. The bid is fashioning essentially, I'd say, a two-part signage regimen, if you will. We're not going to try to communicate the entire breadth of the Winteractive experience until the other pieces are in place next month. So we are designing some signage that would help understand sort of our vision for why this has been brought to Boston and provide that level of interpretation for the public that will be in place, somewhat light footprint temporary signage that would be in place as early as the installation process, to then ultimately be replaced by the broader Winteractive maps and information that connects this piece with the other pieces and calls back to a purpose-built website that's being created now to communicate with ease more information about each of the pieces so that the viewing public can learn more about the individual artist, their vision, why the bid brought this to downtown, what it means, and where they can learn more about it. And that will be in place broadly in time for the broader exhibition in mid-January.
Cool. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Thank you. And Commissioner Fernandez, perhaps.
Thank you, Michael. Do you mind going back to your site plan? I did have a question overall about the placement of the sculpture and some of the winter programming activities.
Sure.
And how you're thinking about the intersection of those. I think even building on Brian's comment here, also, how are you thinking about that winter programming in terms of signage and activation and this particular art feature sort of being central to that space?
So the one element I should have responded to Commissioner Fernandez, is that we are working to access a vacant storefront in the downtown to serve as something of a visitor center and interpretive center for this exhibition. Our hope is somewhere where if you're going to ask people to possibly walk a mile or two through the downtown in the middle of winter and experience 18 or 19 individual pieces that are in the public realm fully, all outdoors, external pieces. Be great if you gave them somewhere to warm up. And while that could be Macy's or a coffee shop, we're working to put the final pieces together to access a vacant storefront where we could welcome in the public, maybe offer them a cup of hot chocolate, and give a little bit more interpretive information about the piece, hand out maps and brochures that would connect people with where to access the other pieces. Any information about programming could be communicated in that location, in addition to social media advertising and other plans that Kelsey and our team have for marketing the overall exhibition. But we do hope to identify at least one home base to welcome in the public to do some of this. We also, I think, will look at other vacant storefronts downtown, of which there are fewer than there were a year ago. And we're pleased with the progress downtown of people filling vacant storefronts, but that we may look to install, vinyl graphics on a few windows downtown with maps of the overall exhibit, or QR codes and other information that help connect the public to this opportunity. One thing that was important to us is that we help to manage a fairly broad swath of downtown. Basically everything between Chinatown and City Hall Plaza without including those two locations, and everything between the Rose Kennedy Greenway and the Boston Common without including those two locations. And so the exhibit is actually planned for all four corners of the neighborhood. We hope to bring people not just through the downtown crossing area, but into the edges of Chinatown, the financial district, government center, and the theater district. And so with that, I think it'll be really important to have, visual communication through the downtown that helps connect people with information about the event.
Can I also add on to that, if you don't mind?
Please.
I also want to note that Meet Boston is one of the sponsors of this exhibit, and so I think we'll be an important partner in helping get the word out to visitors from further away. And we also have a strong network of hotel partners in the district, including a signature hotel partner. And their concierges are going to get special briefings on this, and we'll have maps at their desks to help welcome visitors to downtown out to see the art exhibit as well.
Thank you
for your responses.
I'd now like to open it up to any members of the public who have a comment or have a question for Michael and Kelsey. Hearing none, I wonder if a commissioner would be willing to make a motion for approval of final design of this project.
Well, I'll make a motion to okay and approve echoes of Voice from Uncharted Waters for the steps at Franklin and Washington Streets.
I'll second.
Thanks, Camilo. Thanks, Cara. I'll now take a roll call vote. So if you agree, please say yes after I state your name. Camilo?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, I can't wait.
Brian?
Yes.
Nigel?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Abigail?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so the motion passes. Congratulations, Michael and Kelsey. Excited to see this in Downtown Crossing very soon.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time.
And now, before we adjourn, just one last item of business. This is for the commissioners. Given that the holiday season is coming, I'm curious about the timing of the January meeting. And I'm wondering how many people would be able to attend a January 16th meeting, or should we reschedule it or postpone it until February 13th, 2024? If anyone has thoughts.
I believe I'll be out of town.
Can most other commissioners make January 13th or?
I can.
So can I.
Was
Thank
it,
you.
sorry, was it the 13th or the 16th?
Excuse me, I meant the 16th. Apologies, Tara.
Just for awareness, that's the first commemoration commission meeting is that evening at
Okay.
same time, it's at 8:30. So I won't be able to join, but if there's a quorum, I'll be for people to reschedule.
Any other thoughts on January? I know I can be there on January 16th.
I am available too on the 16th.
I can do the 16th.
As can I.
The 16th works as well for me.
Okay, great. So I think that does mean we have a quorum. So if we have projects to review, Karen and Paul, it seems like we can have a meeting.
Great, thank you. I think we are expecting to have some projects ready for review,
Okay,
so that would be helpful.
Great. So let's all plan to have and attend the meeting on January 16th. And now our last item is a call to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, Bob. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Now I'll call the vote. If you agree to adjourn, after I say your name, please say yes. Camilo?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Nigel?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Abigail?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Well, Nigel, James, and Abigail, you've now had your first meeting of the Art Commission. Congratulations. Again, thank you so much for being here. All the rest of the commissioners, I hope you have a nice holiday season and see you back in January.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everyone.
And you all.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thanks all.
All right, that's everyone. Here, we're just here internally.
Can you have to stop the recording.
I just realized that. Hold on.